Today I'm going to be opening up and preparing my ponds ready for pond season 2024. Starting here at my big pond that I built towards the end of last summer, the first thing I'm going to do is to remove the bog filter cover and trim back this watercress which has continued to grow throughout the winter. And with that done, straight away things are looking a lot more tidy, and we can now see that both the marsh marigold at the front here and the water iris are starting to grow back nicely. That said though, I'm now going to give the horsetail at the back here a bit of a trim because it has obviously been growing under the cover and is now a bit of a funny shape. With that done though, that's all that needs to be done to the bog filter for now, which means we can move on to the pond, and I'm going to start by taking off the bubble wrap insulation and the polycarbonate cover just from the front half of the pond. And what I plan to do is, just for the next couple of weeks, whilst I'm waiting for the weather to warm up a little bit more, is to just remove this front part during the day and put it back on overnight when the temperature drops. But with that front part of the cover off, we can now see that the fish appear to be all well and fairly active, which is good, and also the water looks nice and clear. We can also see that the watercress has grown a lot inside here as well, and again the marsh marigold is also growing back nicely. I'm not going to do any trimming back of these plants for now though, and that's just because I don't want to do too much in one go and risk upsetting the pond balance or ecosystem, so I'm going to leave it at this point for a week, maybe two, and continue the spring opening then. Okay, so it is now a couple of weeks later. The temperature in the pond is up to 11.4 degrees C, which is around 52.5 degrees Fahrenheit, and today I'm going to start by tackling that watercress. So as you can see, I'm cutting it right back and I'm just going to replant one small piece, and that small piece will completely cover this entire corner of the pond very quickly, which is nice because it will not only help with water quality, but will also provide some extra cover for the fish. With that done though, I left things for another week, and within that time the pond temperature has increased to 14.3 degrees C or 58 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is starting to warm up a bit now, although it is very windy today. But as you can see, the iris in the bog filter is really starting to grow in nicely now, as is the marsh marigold, and it actually looks like we're going to be seeing a flower on that in the not too distant future. And also a little bit of typha is starting to come through as well now. And that little typha plant will get huge throughout the course of the spring and the summer, and is great for removing excess nutrients that can often fuel an algae bloom. That said though, moving on to the pond itself, I think it is now warm enough to remove all the covers and get this pond fully into summer mode. So the bricks and the bubble wrap insulation came off, the screws came out, and the polycarbonate back cover removed. This allowed me to take the wooden frames off, and with that done, it'll probably snow next week, but hopefully not. I am loving seeing the pond looking like this again though, and I am really hoping we have a nice summer this year. With the covers off though, I had a bit of a white ground, got things looking nice, and removed a bit of algae from the filter returns. With that done though, the next thing I was going to do was to give the pondweed a bit of a trim back. However, I've decided I'm going to leave it because I like how it's looking, the fish seem to like it, and I can always trim it back later on in the season if needed. So what I'm going to do now is to add my water lily, but first it requires a little bit of preparation. So the first thing I'm going to do is to remove any dodgy looking or damaged leaves. And with that done, I'm going to add some fertiliser tabs, and that is because water lilies are heavy root feeders, and if we want to see some nice healthy lily pads accompanied by the odd fragrant flower, fertilising is pretty much essential. So as you can see, I'm just using a bit of bamboo to push the tabs right down into the substrate before filling the holes and covering with some potting grit, which is going to help prevent any nutrients from leaching out into the water column. I will mention here though that it is important not to completely cover the rhizome or growing tip on the water lily, as this can result in it rotting. With that done though, I'm now going to add the whole thing into one of these fabric planter baskets. Now this step definitely isn't essential, but I'm hoping by doing this it's going to help with preventing any nutrients from leaching out of the sides of the plastic planter. Also, it just kind of keeps things looking a bit tidier. Once in the fabric planter though, I'm adding a few larger rocks just to the very top, just to prevent the goldfish from digging about in there and causing a mess. With the rocks added though, I can now slowly add the water lily to an area of the pond that should get plenty of sunlight. With that done, I gave it a week before doing the final bits of spring preparation, but first check out that marsh marigold flowering away in the bog filter. So very lovely. I'd even go as far as saying it might be worth a cheeky like and subscribe perhaps. Anyway, whilst you mull that over, what I need to do now is to clean out my DIY wheelie bin stroke trash can filter, which I use for primarily mechanical filtration, which, if you don't know, means it is responsible for the physical removal of waste from the pond. And the first thing I need to do before I go any further is to fill up a couple of these tubs with pond water. With that done, I turn the water flow to the filter off, remove the heaters, which I have also now turned off, and then remove the bags of biomedia and place them into one of the tubs of pond water. And it is important that it is pond water and not chlorinated water straight out of the tap, which could kill the beneficial bacteria on the media when contact time is over a few minutes. Once that was done though, I removed all the sponges and added them to the second tub of pond water. I then grabbed my pond vac and went about sucking all of the water, waste and debris from the filter. And as you can see, the filter is now completely empty and nice and clean. With that done, I went about spraying down and cleaning all the sponges. And yes, this is chlorinated tap water I'm using, and the reason I can get away with using it here and not killing the beneficial bacteria is because the contact time is so low. However, please do your own research because I'm definitely no expert. I will say though, if you are interested in learning more about why it probably is okay to clean your filter media in chlorinated tap water, I'll link a video by your boy Jason over at Time Aquatics, who is an actual scientist, in which he shares some science on this subject. I'll link that video in the description. That said, as I'm cleaning off the sponges, I'm adding them back to the filter and using the flow control, slowly adding water in to make sure that the sponges are kept wet. So with the sponges all added back to the filter, I gave the bags of biomedia a little shake off in the tub they were in. They weren't very dirty, and then added them back to the filter. I also put the heaters back in, not currently needed, but they may as well stay in there. And then finally added an air stone, and that's just good for re-oxygenating the water before it's returned back to the pond. With that added though, I closed the filter back up and that's that filter sorted. I then moved my attention to the bog filter, which is responsible for more of the biological side of things. And all I have to do to maintain this filter is to put the pond vac down the clean out snorkel and suck out any waste or debris that has settled down at the bottom. With that sorted, I moved over to the actual pond itself and vacuumed out the waste and debris that has settled down at the bottom over the winter, of which there was quite a lot. I also tried vacuuming the pump, which kind of worked, but I think I will need to take it out and give it a proper clean out and service sometime over the next couple of weeks. I've been thinking though that I might make some sort of pre-filter for it, just to make maintenance a bit easier. With the vacuuming complete though, I thought I'd do about a 25% water change, just to freshen things up and reduce any nutrients that could have potentially built up over the winter. And again, as you can see, I filled up a couple of tubs with water that was of similar temperature to the pond water and also obviously dechlorinated. And yeah, like I said, it was probably about a 25% water change. I just took it down to the little marginal shelf and then using a pump, filled it back up. And with the water change complete, the last thing I want to do to this pond is to add one of these Evolution Aqua Pure Pond Bombs that contains live bacteria, which I always think is handy to add after a big maintenance session, particularly at the beginning of spring, as the pond is just starting to wake up and get going. And this is like a two-part treatment. Firstly, we've got the actual bomb, which I like to put in a mesh bag inside my filter. And then we've got the liquid that the bomb was sat in, and I like to pour this directly into the filter. And with that done, that's this pond prepped and ready to go for pond season 2024. And pretty much everything I've done to this pond, I've also done to the DIY above ground mini pond. Plants were trimmed, covers came off, I didn't go as far with the clean out though, just because I am planning a big makeover to this pond soon, including a huge upgrade to the DIY bog filter, so if you want to see that, don't forget to subscribe. Finally though, if any of you are wondering about the DIY patio pond, that is unfortunately no more and has been dismantled. Reason being, I'm redoing that whole area of the garden, so I needed it out the way. It will be returning though, albeit with quite a different setup. So again, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.